Golgari na naman ta. Deck mode again for standard Dominaria United. And this one, since it's already legal, you can see here that most of the cards are already not in red color. But this build is again from the MTG Goldfish website, which was submitted by M787. He named it Orzhov Sacrifice. But I did a few modifications in the build according to my preference and what I think would be lacking, which I just made some adjustments. So we're going to go with the deck list. We have 23 creatures, 6 enchantments, 5 instants, 2 sorcery, and 24 lands for the build. So what I mean with the uh, name of the deck, which is Sacrifice, in which you make sure that you have 3 creatures to sacrifice and in effect do some damage or lose life against opponents, and at the same time you would also gain life in the setup. So we're going to go first. Start with our 2 drops. So we're going to sort again. I mean, the 2 drops here are source of our effects. For this are Flesh Taker, which whenever you poison our creature, gain 1 life and you fly 1, fixing your mana source, and also for extra mana sink, you can basically pay 1 and sacrifice another creature to make it plus to until end turn. And as a bonus, you can still do a huge attack against opponents for this build. So we're gonna continue. For the next 2 drop, we have Ajadar, Gold Color, since this is from Midnight Hunt. This is as a free creature producer, in which it triggers at your end step. If I have no creatures with Decade, you can create a 2/2 black zombie creature with Decade. So at the same time, you can have those extra creatures we can use later on to your spells, or you can use it to sacrifice to your Flesh Taker, which was mentioned earlier, that can basically stick out extra creatures to sacrifice. And at the same time, we also have the 2-drop new card from Dominaria United, Elas Ilkor, Sadistic Pilgrim. This is a 2/2 cost 2 death touch. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So that's another trigger of the priest cleric types effect. But the bonus here is that whenever a creature you control dies, you get your opponents or each opponent loses 1 life in the process. So basically, you can have 2 and 3 drops of these. You can pay it in your first and your third up to your third turn. And at the same time, you're gonna have also this 1 drop called Conscript, wherein you can sacrifice where it's extra mana. If not needed, then you can basically pay 2, return it to a battlefield from the graveyard if a non-skeleton creature died under your control this turn. So this is a bonus, and at the same time, a good early attacker that can help your curve early on, and a recursion engine in a sense. So for your 3 drop, we have Aaron Binaras Ruin, common card from Dominaria United. It is a 3/3 4/3 with menace. It's a good way to get ahead of extra damage early on and just finish off opponents with their life loss effects. So if the board gets stuck and you need to boost up your board, you just basically activate Hit's ability, pay 1 white and black, tap, sacrifice another creature, put up a summon counter on each creature you control. So basically, you can just sacrifice those tokens created from by the announcement or you're from Jadar's zombie token if needed to have this effect pump up your board. But the bonus here also is that we have also another sacrifice engine with braids, a race and nightmare wherein the beginning end step you may sacrifice an artifact creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. Then opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares that card type. For each opponent who doesn't, the player loses 2 life and you draw a card. So you can basically have your extra creatures sacrifice, or if you have multiple effects, if you have, for example, those Mythok Massacre that you would not really need to cast again for 0, you can basically sacrifice the first one to Braids so that in effect that they would be able to do so with the same card type. You will lose 2 life and you draw a card in the process. So this is a good 3-drop. There are options here for the 3 drops, and at the same time I included a single copy of Hellstinger. This is also a good sacrifice effect in which whenever you exploit, you have to get to draw 2 cards and lose 2 life, but at the same time you get a 3/2 death touch and also some lose life and gain life triggers done with this card. So 23 creatures in this setup, don't really need to go further with how you can go with aggro on this. And at the same time, we have a merry announcement to boost up your lineup. This is going to have a good trigger of either producing white human creature tokens, or if you have 3 or more invitation counter, you can transform it to have your creatures plus one anthem effect. So either that, you can also draw a card with this if you attack with 2 or more creatures, and also create a 1/1 white human creature token. It's a good creature source. Now for me, token is not really anything to explain about this, but since we already have 2 copies in the deck, which means that if there are situations where we need to wipe up the board, you can basically use this, and at the same time have this effect wherein whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent lose life. So this is also a good way to strategize, in which you can basically wipe up your board, but at the same time kill off your opponent with life loss effects. So 2 copies to make sure that we can maximize it for the late game with the enough mana. So for your instance, we have spot removal for the grass, not really fancy, but a very generic spot removal now for black. And I've added also Eternal Life, but still since it is a sorcery effect. But the purpose here is that you can basically have this as another sacrifice engine, wherein you can exile a creature or planeswalker. This can be relevant in some matchups wherein they can have ways like, for example, Takenuma to get their planeswalker or creature back from the graveyard to your hand. So you can basically have this as your exile effect and make sure that they won't really have those options again for their board. Now for the last card for the instant, we have Rattle and Union. This is just an anti-graveyard effect that can exile up to 1 target card from any graveyard, but the purpose is that you can basically create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decade. So the extra cards that you may remove, or those relevant cards from your opponent's graveyard, can be replaced and dealt with, but at the same time also have a 2/2 zombie creature added to your board, and at the same time it's just a Decade, but the purpose is that you can basically have this as your sacrifice fodder, and with the flashback, which means that you can basically have two black zombies for just 1 card. So 3 copies of this in the main. And for the last of your fixing, just basically Caves of Koilos, Shadow Sanctum for the white and black source, a few basic planes in a 1 copy of each of their utility cards, Iganju and Takinuma, to make sure that we have options later on to do with this setup. So overall, that's about it for Orzhov Sacrifice deck. Thank you for this idea M787, but I need to have a few modifications done because I think the previous one was added just brutal Catars, which I think are not really relevant in the setup, although it is a creature sort of a removal, but we make sure that we have solid spot removals instead of just those temporary effects that can be removed with just of your opponent's effects that can for their spot removals also that can turn their creatures to the battlefield. So that's about it. Thank you for checking this video. Until the next standard, the Dominaria United deck tech, and be sure to like and subscribe for more and more Dominaria United info and other MTG strategy and setup. Thank you for watching.